Hi and welcome back to the latest New Zealand property podcast and video series. And I haven't spoken to a successful investor for quite a long time. I've been interviewing all these other experts these days, but we're very, very privileged today to have Martin Evans. I've even flown down to Christchurch to interview him today. So welcome to the show, Martin.
Thank you. Welcome to Christchurch.
Yeah, thank you. Beautiful contemporary day here as per usual.
Yeah.
Now Martin has had a big story himself with what he's done in the last 25-ish years, 30 years, I don't know, you'll tell us how long soon, and was the New Zealand Property Investor Federation president for about 8 years, so he's done it, and it'll be good to see what he has to say to us today. So maybe we'll start off right at the beginning, because we talk a lot about planning on these shows and different bits and pieces, and some people might go, geez, he's an old codger like you, Mark. You're he's been lucky, which was the funny thing. But what we learn in property is still what goes on today are the same sort of principles, I guess, than they were 30 years ago and 20 years ago. So
I guess it still is. Yeah, it's still trying to build capital to get the deposits to buy the properties in the first place.
Yeah.
And I don't regard myself as lucky. I think I was good planning, and all through my life I've told people that they should be doing what I'm doing and giving them the advice to say, do this, it works. And some have, some haven't. Some have got 2 or 3 properties, freehold now, and they're doing okay. So, and other people are saying, we wish we'd listened to what you said, and because they can see what I've done. And but people aren't jealous of what I've done. They can, because they see what I did throughout my life. I struggled. I seemed to be struggling because I was working to a budget, and well, I'll start from the beginning. I started when I was in my 20s.
Just where you go, doing funny old thing, the better you plan and the harder you work, funny old thing, the luckier you become.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so start off, tell us how you got into it.
I was working for Air New Zealand, and I was a shift worker, and the I took out the superannuation. In those days, if I put in a dollar, they'd put in 2, and that sounded fantastic. And I said, yeah, I'll be into this. But the catch was that I couldn't take it out until I was 65, and I thought, I'm not going to be here when I'm 65. I'm still working at Air New Zealand, doing shift work, getting 1 weekend off every 5 weeks, and working till 2 o'clock in the morning, or starting at 4 in the morning, and working 9 days in a row. It's just too hard on the old system. And so I made my mind up that I don't want to be here for the rest of my life, but I want to do well in life, and I want to, when I leave in New Zealand, I want to work for myself. I don't want to work for people anymore, because I'm working, I think they were paying me $15 an hour in those days, and they were charging my time out to other airlines at 70. So I thought, well, they're using me to build up their business. I should have my own business. So I decided that I'd get into investments, and I went to some investments advisors, and they said, put your eggs in many baskets, so don't put everything into one thing. So what I did, I thought, well, I need capital. So what I did, I worked overtime. We bought small businesses. I worked spare jobs in a bar and things like that, and so did my wife, and we built up extra capital. And so I worked out a budget. I went to the budget advisory service, and they told me how to do a budget. And I worked out that we needed so much per year to live on. We needed so much for all our accounts every month, and I worked at that out per year. We needed so much to live on, so much for holidays, and we had a young family, so we needed so much for, we used to go skiing once a year, so we used to put $2,000 away for that in those days. So we covered everything. We didn't let it ruin our lives, because we knew it was going to be a long journey. We had to enjoy ourselves while we were going through that journey. So even though we were budgeting, we still had to have a quality life, which we did. And every time I saved $5,000, I'd invest it somewhere, and then when I had enough for a deposit for a house, I'd put it on a house. But we invested in shares, forests, anything we could think of, really. And but it was always it was property that outshone the rest, because the thing is, if we put $10,000 into a property and bought $100,000 property, when the property doubled in price, it was $200,000. We made the whole 100,000. The bank didn't want their 90,000 that their money had doubled.
You couldn't go and do that with the shares or forestry.
So we could still borrow money to buy shares, but then people didn't seem to do that in those days, and banks didn't like lending on it. So you had to have a property that you could borrow against in the first place. And as the property values went up, we could borrow more against them. And I remember we had different banks. We started with the National Bank, and once we got to 7 properties, they said, "Oh, you're commercial now. We're going to charge you an extra 2%." We were paying 9% in those days. So we went up to 11. So we went to Countrywide Bank, and they said, "No, we'll lend you the money." So we changed banks to the Countrywide Bank, and then eventually Countrywide Bank was bought out by National. We'd already been to ANZ years ago, and they didn't want to know us. But then ANZ bought National, so we ended up with ANZ.
Yep.
But in the 2000s, in the 90s, I retired from Air New Zealand in 1995. My goal was to retire hopefully when I was 50, but I was waiting till my passive income exceeded my salary.
Yep.
And that happened when I was 45, so I was quite happy there.
Awesome.
I can tell you, it was 70 grand. I was getting 70 grand from Air New Zealand in those days, and my passive income reached 70 grand. I thought, that's easy enough. I can stop one and live on the other. But when you think about it, you still have to half your salary, don't you?
Yeah.
But then I got I was in a superannuation scheme. I got that. Plus I got a redundancy package, so I get a year's pay. And all in all, I had 16 properties, and I ended up with 60% equity. So I only had 40% mortgage. So I was on a good start and had plenty of equity to go and buy more properties when the markets changed. But in the 90s, there was no yields. We were in those days looking for 10% yield, because the mortgage rates could easily go up to 12%, and they were in those days. And we had been through the 80s where they went up to 25. So we thought 10% was a safe yield.
So when that was going on, because obviously the yields were high, as you say, and even though the interest was high, and even though the yields were high, it's still not enough to cover the mortgage.
No.
Well, what sort of strategies did you use when you first started, compared with moving forward to the 90s when, or now when you're saying that it was like that? So what was your strategy when you started to get going, apart from saving, working your butts off?
So to start off with, we bought our own homes and moved and did them up, added rooms on, built garages. So we improved them and then sold them for profits.
Yes.
And built capital like that. And then eventually we had enough money to put it into investment properties. And by that stage, we just put our first one was a little old house near town that had 2 bedrooms and 3 living rooms. So we turned it into 4 bedrooms and 1 living room, and it turned out all right. So we did that quite often, as rearrange the interior of their houses to make them more livable. And we're handy people ourselves. We'd always go in, and we looked for doer-uppers in those days, which was good to do. And then we specialised in student property. So we bought a few big blocks of student properties, got them at a good price. And we liked dealing with the students, and the students liked dealing with us. We respected them. They were going to be our lawyers and accountants one day, which they are now. And some of them have even retired. But so eventually, we looked after them. They looked after us, and they always paid, because you've got 3 or 4 students, and each one's paying. So they were good at. You didn't have many rent problems. So on a Thursday, we'd go around, knock on their doors, and collect the rent. Then we'd go to the ATM machine, and we deposit the cash in those days. So we were always around there doing stuff. We did all our own maintenance and lawns and gardens. So we were always picking up all the rubbish, because what students are like. They have a party outside on a Sunday afternoon, and all the bottles and cans, everything's still there the next week.
Yep.
Well, I remember we'd go and pick up rent sometimes, and they'd be sitting on the couch eating spaghetti bolognese, and you go in the next Thursday to pick up the rent, and the plate would still be on the floor where they'd been eating it the week before. But we just laughed with them, and you can be stern with them in a certain way, but we lay the ground rules. Like, for example, we wanted them to clean the house, so when we first showed them the property, and they said, yes, we want the property, and they'd sign the contract, we'd go in and show them around. We'd open up the top drawer, and here would be a plan, like a clock, saying, John, Sarah, Charlie, and that it'd be a roster to do the cleaning.
Right.
And I said, oh, look at this, they must have left this here, the last tenants, and look, it's quite a good system, because everyone has a job and one has the week off, and it was important for one of them to have the week off, because they could swap it. Otherwise, if they were going away somewhere, their job wouldn't get done. So you always had one person have the day off.
Cunning plan.
But we'd set it up and we'd put it there, but we'd just say, oh, look, the last tenants had the system, we'll leave that here for you, you can follow it. And so that worked, and they'd always invite us in for a beer. You'd go and tell them off, or you get complaints from the neighbours that, loud noise, and they're peeing outside on the driveway. And so I used to go around there at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, but I figured out that they were drunk then, they're just going to laugh. So what you had to do is go the next morning about 7 o'clock when they had their hangovers,
Yeah.
and then have a hard word to them. But the one thing I always said was to the neighbours, if you've got a problem, you go over and talk to them, because they'll turn the music down. Don't ring me. I'll ring once you've done that. I'll go around and try and sort it out.
That's one thing I think is so important now too, is actually letting the neighbours know who you are. And I've had a few problems with evicted a tenant actually in Te and just having the neighbours on board, letting them know all the issues also, which is good. So they're looking after your property and you're looking after them.
And they'll ring you if there's a problem.
But looking after a group of tenants like students, which can be difficult. If you do that properly, that's a huge barrier gain. Also, it's not just the effing landlord. It's actually that bloke that's okay.
That's right. I remember we had one property, and the owner had moved back into it. He'd sold his house and he moved back into his rental property, but he kept us, because we ended up being property managers. We're looking after this one, and the neighbour complained about the tenant, and it was the owner. So we had great delight going and telling him, bloody noisy neighbours, tenants, maybe I have to have a word to you. You're not behaving yourself. Right. But some people complain about, you had to deal with the, sometimes it wasn't the tenant's fault, it was the nosy neighbour, or the neighbour's just been a bit pedantic.
So I suppose what the underneath all that was actually the more tenants obviously actually did give you cash flow, I guess, even interest rates were high, and that was probably one of the main reasons I guess you did that. And with our low equity, it was we did make the cash flow. So as I said, I was making 70,000 in 1995, which was quite good money. And so I left Air New Zealand, and as I was leaving, people said, "What are you leaving for?" And I said, "I'm going to go and look after my properties." And little did I know, they said, "Oh, can you look after mine?" And a hostess would come in, or a pilot, and say, "Oh, can you look, I've got one in Christchurch, can you look after my block of flats? Can you look after this?" I ended up with 60. Oh, right, that's how the property management started.
So I started up a property management company. Well, first with my 16, I'd been around, there's no independent property managers around in those days. There was two sisters who ran a scheme out of a garage. They looked after people's properties. And so I went around the real estate agents, but I thought, well, no, the real estate agents had property management companies, but the guys that owned the property management company didn't know anything about property management. They'd handed it on to someone else. So it was sort of a sideline.
Right, yep.
So I ended up looking after them myself, and I watched them for a while, and I thought, no, I think I'm doing a better job myself, so I'm going to manage them myself. And it grew from that, and then I started it up, and I said to my accountant, my accountant said to me, "You better form a company and do this properly." So he said, "Give us 10 names." So I gave him 10 names, and he said, "None of those are available, but A1 is."
Oh, right.
I said, "Oh, that'll do."
That's where A1 was formed.
And it went quite well, because in those days we got a lot of business through the Yellow Pages, and you go to property managers, and A1 was always the first one there.
Yeah.
So we went for the big ad on the Yellow Pages, and they said, "Do you want to prioritise it?" No, because it already is. It's always going to be the first one there. So
back in those days was
well. The days of faxes and Yellow Pages and those sort of things.
So just at this stage, so people are realising how far was it from when you started to when you really stopped working in New Zealand and started the property management business?
Well, it was 20 years. So I started when I was 26 and retired when I was 46.
Yep.
And
we tell people it's not an overnight game; it's a long-term game.
In a long haul. So you have to. And I've always said to people, you've got to don't struggle. Don't put all your money into it. Make sure you've got some cash. Make sure you're enjoying your life, because you don't want to get to 65 and say, I've got all these properties, but I haven't done anything. So you still have to bring your kids up and do what you want with them and fit that into your budget.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I couldn't believe the power of budget, how it would... budgeting wasn't actually restricting us. It was just accounting for everything. So, some guys in New Zealand, they'd go away for a holiday and they'd come home, I've got all these bills come in, we can't pay them. We thought, well, that doesn't affect us, because every week we're putting so much into a certain account. We had, in those days, you worked off bank accounts, so we had about 11 bank accounts and 11 checkbooks, all for the different things. That's all gone now.
Yep.
But you can still compartmentalise your different things. But I was so impressed with the budget that I actually became a budget advisor for the budget service.
Okay.
And then I became the president of the budget service. So, because it was so powerful and worked really well, and I used to really enjoy going around doing budgets for people and turning their life around where they didn't think that they could make ends meet. And when they can, even if they're only saving a little bit of money, it soon grows and grows and grows. Some people, beneficiaries benefits that they only save $2 or $5 a week, but that grew. But they could still have a holiday. So go to Akaroa in the winter when it's cheap. And they said, but we can't give up smoking. No, don't give up smoking, because if people gave up smoking then started again, that would blow the budget, and 90% of them would start smoking again. So you taught them how to roll their own, or get punch and grow tobacco and roll that, or if they drank a lot, they could go and buy. You could get refill vodka bottles and refill gin bottles.
That's right.
And so tell them to do that sort of thing. So still do what you're doing, and then definitely try to give up smoking, but it's in your budget. It's not going to affect your budget. If you give it up, you're going to have another $30 a week to save.
Yeah.
So we try to fit stuff into it, and that worked well too. But
the fundamentals are still the same. Do your budget well, get the money going. That's great
and
stuff.
we bought small businesses. We had a rental car company in Brisbane. My brother lived over there, so Holden Kingswoods were cheap over there, a couple of $1,000. So it was during Expo 87 we started Queensland Rental Cars, and he ran it, and we did all the bookings from here, all from Christchurch. So everyone that was our client was a Christchurch person, because I advertised in our press.
Yep.
And so I used to say, look, you can go and hire a rental car in Brisbane, and then you have a problem, you come home, what are you going to do? Well, with us, we're still here. You come home and we're here, and you can ruin our business by giving us a bad name.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of business that way, and I used to go out to the Queensland plane on a morning and put all our brochures in all the seat pockets. And get a lot of business that way. Then we bought a drapery shop down Island, which we turned into a children's wear shop. Changed the what it was doing.
Yep.
And that worked really well. And Anne, my wife, she was a great knitter and dressmaker and that, so she knew how to run that and what people wanted. And she had outworkers making stuff. We bought a bread round, and we used to run that at night, going delivering bread to people on the streets, and built that up and sold it. And so the businesses, we used to build them up and sell them, but it's all about building capital and all this money, because we knew that we only needed so much to live on, and anything more than that was just money we could invest, and it was power of getting the capital. And in New Zealand there's plenty of opportunity to work weekends, and we had penal rates in those days, so you get double time on Saturdays and Sundays, and so that was good. And then we get a pay increase, so that would all go towards the surplus.
Oh, that's great. So a lot of hard workers, but exploring different opportunities. It's one thing I've sort of seen now, and the more you put yourselves out there, and the more you get involved in things, the more opportunities come and turn up, and then you can invest in that again to get better cash flow to help your property or whatever it is. But I like the idea that you've gone through. You've always had that a bit aside to make sure you enjoy life as you go through. And
it was exciting too, because the things we're doing were really exciting, and the capital gain when you saw it happen. And it enabled us to buy nice houses for ourselves as well, because you've always thought them as an investment. When we were the two of us are in a 6-bedroom house now. We don't need a 6-bedroom, but when I built it for resale. One day. Big section, big house.
The other thing you did when you're young, which was really good, and I've got a staff member who's done this very successfully. She's moving all the bloody time, but she's in the house, renovates it, does what it is, maybe develops it, and then moves on. They might keep a section, or two, whatever. But by doing the hard work, and that is a good way to get ahead when. As I said, it's a long-term game, not a short-term game. If you can do that, and it takes 2 years or 6 months, it doesn't really matter. It's not costing you a lot of your own expenses anyway.
I remember I bought one house and I wanted to subdivide it, but it wasn't big enough. But I looked over the fence, and the guy at the back had a big section, and the one I took now had a big section, and his was just, it used to be a garden, he didn't use it, and I needed about 20 metres of it. So I went over and I said to him, oh look, I don't need all my section. Do you want 20 metres of it? You can have it for 20 grand. He said, it's not worth that much. Don't be stupid, I don't want that. I said, well, can I have yours for 20 grand? He said, yeah, okay. So reverse psychology. Sometimes it works.
There's a couple of reverse psychology tools you've already given us, so that's great. Like the way you work.
So you can make them see the value of it. What works for me would work for them as well.
Okay, so the property management, it wasn't a why you did it, you sort of fell into it, I guess, which is great, and obviously you've built that up over the years too now.
Because I was the president also of the Canterbury Property Investors Association, and if people were looking for property managers, our motto was, we are landlords and we're working in the business, whereas compared to other property managers, the owners weren't working in the business and they weren't landlords. I said, you don't want a butcher running your property management company, you want or a real estate agent.
That's why you come to see Property Ventures of Real Estate. We're all in the business. We're all active investors. So there you go.
You are now, and real estate property managers have really lifted the game, and all the Harcourts have got there's only one Harcourts property manager in Christchurch in those days, and she had the franchise for it.
Right.
And now they'll have, and they can see the value of giving quality property management now. I think if you go to any property manager, 99% of them would be quality property managers. They're all good now.
Yep. Which there need to be with all the rules and regulations.
And the rules have certainly tightened up. We used to have a really good rapport with Tenancy Services. We used to love going there, and we used to have a good rapport with the Tenants Protection Group. And I was with the government on the RTA changes, and we said, look, you've got to get the tenants groups and the landlord groups, and we're working to the same goal, because they thought the landlords were bad landlords and the tenants were the victims, and so no, we've got the same goal. We want to keep those people in the properties. We don't want to have to kick them out because they're not paying their rent, and the tenants protection want them to stay there. So we have to teach them how to behave themselves and obey the rules, and let the landlords keep them there. And then they won't lose their home. And there's tenants been in their properties for 20, 30 years, and the landlords, once they get to know them, a lot of them don't put their rents up, because you better have a good tenant rather than put the rent up $5 and lose them, aren't you? So I think a lot of landlords don't put their rents up, and they're fair landlords, and they look after their tenants. Although a lot of them are only in it for the investment, and they want the capital gain, and they want to have. I remember in the 90s, Cullen saying, he was the Minister of Finance, Michael Cullen, is it?
Yeah.
He said, you 40-year-olds, people in your 40s, you better do something about your investments, because the benefit won't be there when you turn 65.
Yep.
Go and buy a property, something. So everyone did. And now he's trying to knock it, trying to change his capital gains tax.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's what people do. They were unsure if that superannuation would be there when they retired. So if they had one property and paid it off, they had $500 a week coming in.
Yeah, that's right. They had their super and more. So
yeah.
It's actually it's been really good before you had to started the camera here today. We were it's good that people actually listening here know there are people fighting the case for investors with the government, and I know you've met a few of the housing ministers in the past.
Yeah.
And I know I've helped a lot with Andrew King the last 10 or 12 years, and the battles he's had with National, and they come in, and now this Labour-led government. Yeah. And I know you're saying exactly the same thing. In fact, when Andrew finished in probably the 15 years or so before that. Yeah. Which is good to know. And things do work. Look, the capital gains tax this time around, the logic's come through, and they've put it aside. Yeah. So they might try other stuff.
We'd meet the government and different ministers, whether in opposition or in Parliament, and say, look, we're here, we want to look after our tenants, we're business people, and it's like you're worried about the properties and how they're kept. We agree, we want them to be insulated and warm, and them to be comfortable and as well. So let's work towards the same goal, but you need to listen to us, because some things you do will have a negative impact and put people off property investment. And I used to say to young people, people say, even now they say, look, we can't afford to buy our own home because we don't have the deposit. I'm not earning enough income. I would say, well, go and buy a rental property. It's easier to buy a rental property than it is your own house, and then you're on the property ladder, because if you go and buy a rental property, you don't have to buy the house that you want to live in. You can just go and buy a flat, and when you go to the bank, you can say, this is my income, plus I'm going to be getting $400 from the flat. So you add that to it as well, and the bank's in a more favourable position, because you're buying it's like a business. You're buying a business, it's going to give you an income, and it's something just to get you on the ladder. So then when you do save your deposit for your house, if that property's gone up, or as the one you're wanting to buy goes up, so it's easier for a young person. And we, over the years, have met a lot of young people who don't own their own home, but they own a flat.
I know an investor in Auckland owns 35 properties, I think it is, and rents in the middle of town.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. And a lot of people in the 2000s, as they were changing properties, they'd say, oh, we might keep this property, the one not sell it, and move on and buy another one. And I said, look, the best property for an investment property is the one you live in, because you know it inside out. You've been in the roof, you've been under the floor, you know every little leak and scratch and properly. So if you can hang on to that one, mortgage that one 100%, and go and buy your next one, and people could understand that, because you know otherwise they go and look at a property, they might only look at it for half an hour and they say, yeah, we'll buy that as an investment. They don't really know it, but the one you live in,
exactly
you know inside out.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too flash, because it has to be give a return. So you don't want a too expensive house. But if you're starting off and you're buying a, I don't know, now $400,000 house, and then 5 years time you're going to move into an $800,000 house, mortgage that one for its maximum value, and write the tax off, and I mean the interest off,
Right.
if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. if you still can,
Yeah.
We'll see what the rules come out for the new policy that's been granted with no rules. It still beats me, that one. That's all good. Interesting enough, because a lot of people, I meet a lot of people. In fact, I'm doing the exact thing at the moment, I guess. With they have a bit of a plan and go, I'm going to buy this many properties, and when I retire, I'm going to sell half and pay a debt off and what have you. And in your situation, have you just kept most of your properties, or you sold the rubbish, or what did you what did you do?
And that's why one thing I didn't like about capital gains tax, because what I used to do, I don't own my first property still. So what and then I got rid of all my weatherboard houses, and then I got rid of all my blocks of flats. So as time went by, I increased the quality of my portfolio. So I'd sell properties, but then I'd buy more. So if I'd had to pay tax on that, I didn't think, well, that's not fair. I'm only improving my business. I'm not actually taking the capital. I'm just changing the properties, keeping up to date. So eventually I wanted to have 20 brand new houses. I didn't. I haven't. But that was a goal. And I like all these goals that people have. They say, I'm going to own, by the time I'm 50, I'm going to own 10 properties. Or I'm going to have 50 properties by at a certain time, or I'm going to have 20 properties with 50% equity. And I say all these goals are good. You might not reach them, but you're aiming for something. Everyone's got to have, you've got to have a goal, you've got to aim for it. So if you
100%.
if you're saying I'm going to have 10 properties and you end up with 5, you didn't meet your goal, but you've done bloody well.
Still better than most of them out there.
Yeah, still done well. But I like to say to people, what do you want 10 freehold properties for? Aren't you better off with 20, 50% equity ones? Yeah. And you are, in fact, but it's a lot more work. So if you're managing yourselves, you might prefer just to have 10 freehold and all the money comes to you. You don't have to worry about the mortgages, but you are better off having as much the bank's money in there if you can.
One of the most properties wins the game. I was playing the Monopoly with some kids last night, and it's exactly what I said to them. And it's true. That's how you win the game of Monopoly in life.
But as I said, I've got a lot of friends who own one property, they've paid it off, or it might be the parents left it to them or something like that, and it's easy. They're just easy for them to manage themselves. And
the good thing is, and I keep saying this often about property, is it's just, I love property. There's so many strategies you can use. There's no right or wrong one. But what you're saying here is have your goal is really good. At least you're shooting for something, but also get some strategies to actually get near that goal or to that goal. That's the other thing that people fail on. I want this, but how do I get there? I don't know.
So someone having
do it.
Someone that said, I want 10 properties. So I said, well, how many bedrooms are you going to have? Are you going to have some 7 ones or 20 ones? Or, it's really how many rooms you're renting out, or how many tenancies you've got, because you can really spread your risk in the property business. Like you can have students, you can have them all in one town, or spread them out in the towns. I always said to people, you're best to have your properties in one town, because you know the town, you can drive past it, say that's mine. And then the Christchurch earthquake comes, and I thought, that shot that theory down. All mine were in Christchurch.
Yeah.
But I mean, they can have a shop, get a little bit of commercial. They can have students. They can have working people. They can have room by rooms. You can have single flats. You can have a house. A house is always good, because then you can sell it as a house or an investment. So I think people should spread their risk. I know people who have only got students. I know people that have only got room by rooms, and they're doing really well. But they say, have I got too much exposure to the one thing? And they have really.
Multiple different types of
in different areas near the university, in the city, out in Rolleston, or in the suburbs, or wherever things are happening.
Can I ask a question? You just said before, you when you were selling what you did sell, you sold all your blocks of flats. What's the main reason for that?
Because when I first buy blocks of flats, what they call sausage blocks, there might be 8 or 10 in a line.
Yep.
There's you get really good return. So I was buying properties at 10%, but a block of flats would be 14% yield.
Mm-hmm.
But there's never any capital gain on them.
Mm.
And suddenly, in the 2000s, they doubled in price.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, oh wow! So I sold them, and they're quite hard work. And one of the main problems is that you get one bad tenant, and you can't get rid of them. That's where the 90-day notice was good, because you could go to the tenancy tribunal, you could give the person 90-day notice for no reason. But if you had a reason, like the tenants would say, oh, they're always smoking pot, or they're making loud noise, or the dog barks, and I say, well, I'll take them to the tenancy tribunal, but you have to come as a witness, because I've never seen it. And I'll take them to the tenancy tribunal, and they say, well, Mr. Evans, when have you heard this? And I said, well, I haven't. Well, off you go then, because, you know, and the tenants were too scared to come as a witness. So that's one of the problems of having sausage blocks, is that trying to keep the tenants all compatible with each other. Or they'd park on the drive, that sort of thing. So I just found them too hard work. So I'd rather own one. And one in another block and that sort of thing. So it wasn't my problem with the whole lot of them.
And one thing I always look at now when I buy is if I had to sell it today or tomorrow, are there going to be a big lot of people? Obviously, in real estate, the more people are interested in a house, the better price you get.
That's why.
And I guess there's standalone house, or it doesn't have to be a standalone house, but somewhere in a. I do a lot of blocks of townhouses and stuff at the moment, but it's got to be central by the public transport and by the shops and
or one of the best buys I found was a standalone house on a small section. And a lot of investors say, oh, I want a big section, but so what do you want that for? If you can't build more houses, the tenant doesn't want a big section. It's not theirs. They don't want to look after it for you. And so if you bought one on a small section, then you didn't pay so much for it, and the tenants were quite happy.
I'll put you on the spot then. I haven't preempted you for this. What's one of your best buys and you've ever done before?
Best property buy? My best
You've
property
probably got a
buys
lot,
have been. I specialised in mortgagee sales for a while. I used to love going to the mortgagee sales. But I told too many people, and then I'd just go, I'd be the only one there. Then after a while went along, there'd be hundreds of people there. I think I told too many people about a bargain. So I used to love going to auctions and doing well out of an auction. But the mortgagee sales, I used to get some really good buys there. And in the end, sometimes the real estate agent would be ringing me up and say, better come to this one. But one of the best ones was 2 6-bedroom houses on one section, on their own titles. And the real estate agent said to me, this guy's got into trouble and he's going to sell them at a mortgagee sale. He said, so what we're going to do is we're going to sell them both at the same time, together. And then we're going to, if that doesn't work, we'll sell one by one. I thought, that's a bit back to front. So I thought, I see an opportunity here. So I went along there and there's about 50 people in there and they all wanted one. So he said, I suppose they're worth about 1.2 million would he given you 12%. So he said, okay, we'll start off selling them both. And I put my hand up and said, 850,000. And everyone went, oh. And the agent said, any more? No other bids. And he said, I'm going to put a vendor's bid in, 870. And I said, 890. He said, oh, just a minute, I'll have to ring the bank. And he went away and he came back and said, yes, it's yours.
Nice.
And I was going to go to 1.2. And all these people would have paid 500 for one. You know, but I felt he did it back to front, and I got them both, and I still got them. And they're actually 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. So we rent them as room by room. So they go really well.
Great. In fact, we agree, giving away the secrets here. I also, about 7 years ago, for 2 years, just brought at mortgagee sales. I brought 30 in 2 years. I think I bid on, working out today, about 750 auctions in that 2 year period. They were all around the country, but once you start doing it, the agents ring you up and they look after you, that's for sure. Which is all good.
I had to be careful, because buying at mortgagee auctions, you had to be careful, especially if it had a tenant in it. I bought one, and the tenant was only paying $100 a week, and it was worth a lot more than that, and he wasn't paying his rent. So I said to him, you have to be careful, because they can kick holes in the walls and take fires out and do that sort of stuff. So I went to the tenant and said, look, I'm going to put a bid in for this place. And I said, I like you seem like a nice guy. And I said, someone's going to buy it, so it might as well be me. He said, oh, yeah. He said, oh, it's going to me. I said, look, I'll leave you here. If I get it, I'll leave you here on the same rent. I knew he wasn't paying his rent. So I got it. So I went back to him and said, yeah, I got it. He said, oh, yeah. I said, so I'll leave you here and I'll just sign you up in a tenancy agreement. So I signed him up tenancy agreement. He didn't pay his rent and I kicked him out.
No, that's a must do for anyone when you take over a place and leave a tenant there who hasn't got a property tenancy agreement. Get it. It just protects you straight away.
And another one, the real estate agent said, you can't go on this property.
Yeah.
The owner's wife and kids have left him, and he's in dire straits. He's gone mad, and he'll really get mad if you walk and go anywhere near it. He'll shout and scream. So I haven't shown anyone through.
Yeah.
I said, oh, good. So I said, who's he gone? I went and knocked on the door. And he said, oh, Dick, this is my home. I've lived here all my life, and they're trying to throw me out. And before I go, I'm going to take all the jib board off. I'm going to take the fire out and do everything. I said, look, if I get it, you can stay here.
Yep.
I don't mind. You can stay here and cheap rent, and I'll look after you, and so it won't be any different.
Yep.
So I said, oh, well, that sounds right. Anyway, because I was scared that he'd wreck it.
Yeah.
So I went and I got that one, and I went back straight away, and he'd gone.
You gone? Oh, really?
Yeah. Hadn't done any damage.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, it's all how you do. And in fact, what I was doing, I'd investigate the person that had lost their house more than I would the house.
Yeah.
And just for that point.
Yeah,
because,
but there are stress, and you can. I mean, I would have left him there. Poor guy. I mean, and it might have been a year or so before it worked out for me. But picked it up for a good price and just wait him out and let him stay there.
Oh, good.
Well,
there's a couple of good stories.
yeah, it's about people, isn't it? Really.
It is. It's a people business and looking after them. Okay. Well, you've given us a whole lot of marvellous tips and stories of what you've done there. Anything you want to finish off? Maybe saying to some people out there who are either new investors or just someone who's maybe struggling away at the moment, or any words of wisdom from a guy that's been through it all from way to go.
Yeah, I think keep putting, while you've got your other job, or while you're making money out of a property, or if you're a tradesman, you're starting up a business and employing people, stuff like that. Whatever you're doing, don't spend all your money, salt some away, because things will change. Be prepared for mortgage rates going up or other things happening that could affect your income. So always keep paying off equity. In my day, you could pay some money off your mortgage and you could never get it back. So I'd go and put 20 grand on a mortgage and say, here's some capital, and a year later say, oh, can I have that back? And they say, no, you can't have it back. But now you can. You can go and, if you've got any extra money, pay it off your mortgage, because and save it in your mortgage, in your property, because that's the highest interest you're paying. It might be at 4% or a bit lower. It's a bit lower now, and it probably doesn't mean so much now, but rates will go up, and that's the best place to store your money.
Absolutely.
And don't get too much in debt where your lifestyle's suffering. It's a long journey, and you've got to live your life and enjoy it as you go through it.
Absolutely. Great words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is awesome, Martin. Thank you very much for making yourself available today.
Pleasure.
And it's great to have someone like yourself, all the expertise and experience, and done right through from starting out to being the president of the Federation, which now helps many other people out as per the property management business. So
most of my information came from being a member of the Property Investors Associations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the people in those associations, when you go to the meetings, they're only too happy to share their experiences with you. I mean, you can go with your bunch of friends and say, I own 20 properties. They say, oh, you bloody capitalist.
Yep.
But you can go to the Property Investors Association and say, I own 20 properties. They say, well done, good on you.
Yeah, and tell us how you do it, sort of thing. Which is,
they'll give you advice.
100%. Yeah, I've my first time we went to the PIA meeting in Marlborough, to recent times, I've got a whole lot more respect for those places. And I remember when I first went along, we went, there's silly old codgers in the corner, and they're some of the wealthiest people around the country, and they're more than willing to share it with you. All you have to do is talk to them and ask, and it's all about networking and people and talking, and so that's great. Oh, we'll wrap it up now. Thank you so very much. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another special guest like this fine gentleman on my right, and look forward to bringing that to you then. So thanks very much.